Hi BookTube, it's Amy. I thought maybe I'd have something to show you when I sat down to film this Monday Reads video, which I'm hoping, fingers crossed, best intentions, to make a regular feature here on my channel again. Just as many years ago I used to do a Friday Reads, now we'll be doing a Monday Reads. But I'd hoped I'd have something, a new purchase to show you. But UPS hasn't come through yet. It's 5:06 p.m. here, and I'm expecting delivery hopefully by 8:30 tonight. And when that comes, I guess I'll be filming a separate book haul video rather than including it here. So for now, we'll just talk about what it is I read over the course of the week. And I've got to twist myself around here and pull out what I was reading. So last week in my video I talked about how I'd started Dora Hood's The Side Door, her memoir of her many years in the book selling business here in Canada. She was based out of Toronto, specialized in Canadiana, particularly early Canadian books, ephemera, publications. And I finished reading this and I absolutely adored it. It actually indirectly led to the purchase that I've made, which is coming out of the United States. And I thought I'd give it a try to see if things were really as I expected them to be, 9 months into the year here. And when that shipment arrives, I will be paying import fees because there are, I guess, still tariffs on stuff coming in from the United States, including used books. But that's okay. I'm, satisfied. Hopefully I'll be satisfied with that purchase. But it was kind of a trial purchase. And I won't be making any more purchases from the United States anytime soon until the trade relationship is sorted out, unless it's something truly fantastic that I can't source from elsewhere in the world. But I finished Dora Hood's The Side Door, and it was just an absolutely wonderful book. And I learned quite a bit about graphic publishers, a local publishing house that was around for only about a decade here in Ottawa in the 20s and the first year or two of the 30s, the 1930s. I learned a little bit about them, what Dora Hood knew of them, and I think I shared a little bit of that on my channel already. But definitely highly recommend Dora Hood's book. And that leads me into David Mason's book, which I've started reading. I'm almost halfway through. This book is much more recent. This is called The Pope's Bookbinder, and I'm not sure that I would have chosen the title of this book. The Pope's Bookbinder is kind of tongue-in-cheek because he wasn't really a bookbinder for the Pope. He kind of assisted, sort of was. In his youth, he spent some time in Europe, moving from place to place, a little bit of a vagabond, hobo lifestyle almost, working odd jobs, ended up working in a bookbindery, and did assist in, very minor ways on a book that was bound up for the Pope at that time. But he was not binding books for the Pope on a regular basis. And I think this one is, 2013. So this was published in 2013. David Mason, another bookseller based out of Toronto. And he mentions Dora Hood's book, The Side Door, in here, saying that, early on in his book selling career, he didn't really think much of Dora Hood and didn't even consider her really a real bookseller. I guess he later changed his mind upon rereading the memoir, realizing just how important she was to the collecting of Canadiana. But yeah, I'm about halfway through, and he talks about dropping out of high school, not really being the best student because he spent all his time tucked into books and acting out. And it didn't occur to him until much later in life that his obsession with reading and his obsession with books could become a career. And so in the 1960s, he opened up his first real bookshop. He says here it was on Gerrard Street West. I don't know much about the neighborhoods of Toronto, so I can't say exactly where that is. But someone intimately familiar with the streets of Toronto would probably know exactly where that was located. But there's some interesting stories in here. He talks about some of his finds, something that hadn't really occurred to me. But there are books that, certainly before the age of the internet, might have been in high demand or very collectible or able to sell for quite a lot of money here in Canada because of their association with Canadian printing or Canadian history or a Canadian author, that were selling for, you know, maybe a few dollars, maybe even pennies in the United States. And of course, once those books got identified, once American booksellers and dealers realized that Canadian dealers were buying certain titles up and selling them at enormous prices in Canada, of course, the prices in the United States also went up. There's one story, I can't remember exactly the title of the book, but he talks about the American sellers catching on, and you know, half of his yearly income almost disappearing. And I'm sure he might have been exaggerating a little bit. But then he talks about someone he knew, a family member, a friend, who worked in, I think, ornithology at the Royal Ontario Museum. And I'm surprised he told this story. I guess people have moved on, people are retired and deceased, and so he felt able to tell the story. But he jokes about how he blackmailed someone at the Royal Ontario Museum into allowing him to take all these papers out of the museum, even though, you know, technically speaking, they belong to the museum, but just because they had treated the deceased employee so very badly that it would have been a, you know, public relations nightmare and could have led to the withdrawal of, you know, future donations of important artifacts and work. But he was able to wrap up this collection, including the material from the ROM, including the private material that had been, you know, in a previous will left to the ROM, but ended up actually going to the University of Toronto, I believe. And he was able to exert his influence to collect copies of letters that the deceased man had written, sort of calling out everything that had happened to him. And he promised, well, he said he was going to destroy them, but he even admits here that he thinks they're, you know, important records that he's not going to destroy all of and going to retain in a collection. But he was able to exert his influence to successfully get this collection donated or sold to the University of Toronto, and to encourage others in the same field to donate other important works. He talks also about how he sourced his works, being, you know, hired to collect vast amounts of literature, important literature, and having to figure out how to get his hands on that, you know, exhausting the stacks in the basements and the shelves of all the booksellers he knew, picking out what was on a list that a certain institution wanted, and having to figure out new avenues, such as the somewhat risky approach of, you know, posting notices in periodicals and publications and newspapers, and having it be hit or miss in terms of what you're going to end up getting back. Because these were the days, you know, into the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, where, you know, the internet wasn't really around, wasn't being used for the sale of books. at all until, into the 90s. But if you wanted a book, sometimes you would just, see a notice, see a catalog listing, see that either you had a want for the book or somebody wanted a book that you had, and you might just send off the book, or you might just send off a check, trusting that whoever received your book or check is going to send you what you're owed. And certainly, I guess, in the age of online payment and credit cards and whatnot, I would say it's very, very rare that anyone is sending something off without any guarantee. I suppose some people still pay for things by check, but for the most part, you're protected by the platform you're buying on or your own credit card company if that book doesn't come back to you. But there was a time, I guess, when you wrote off a check, if that seller didn't send you your check back or send you the book and went ahead and cashed your check, I suppose you'd have to take the legal route without the assistance of the tools that we have today. But that's pretty much the reading for this week. Just 2 memoirs on books. Of course, I've been continuing on with Holbrook Jackson's The Anatomy of Bibliomania, lying on top of the record player back there. But I won't pick that up because that's kind of an ongoing thing. I think I mentioned a couple of other works last week. Didn't pick those up at all this week. Had a few social engagements and, of course, NFL football on the TV over the past few days, so that has kept me from some of my reading. But I do intend to finish David Mason's book this week, and then I may end up picking up the set of books that is set to arrive in the mail, hopefully, fingers crossed, by 8 or 8:30 today. But that's all. I hope you're having a good reading week. Let me know what you're reading in the comments below. And happy, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, happy first, second day of fall. I think we're 21st, 22nd. We're into fall. It was either yesterday or the day before, marking the first day of autumn here in the Northern Hemisphere. But I will see you all in the next video.